Hey everybody, welcome to this podcast. Just before we get into one that's going to be a little bit different than I think we're used to, it's a story about what just took place over Thanksgiving. I want to give you the opportunity. I want to ask if you would like and subscribe. We want people to find out about this and participate. And liking and subscribing is the way that this goes down. So would you take just a second and get that sucker done? Excited for what's upcoming? Let's get into the podcast together. So I'm going to start this podcast by just simply stating a point, and it's this. I don't know what you do without Jesus. If you're watching, listening somewhere, driving in your car, stuck in LA traffic, or you're just, I don't know, out in Kansas and you can free fall it anywhere that you want to go, I don't know how you handle life without Jesus. It's remarkable to me that the holidays don't always bring out the best. Sometimes they bring out the worst. You have family that you can't trade. You got dynamics that you have to live with. There's things that go on for all of us. And I'm in one of those right now in my life. And I got to tell you, it's way harder than I ever thought it was going to be. I'm 53 years old. I don't know when that happened, but that's not what's hard. What's hard is that my mama, she's 80, almost 6 years old, and she is in memory care. And I was with somebody at the church the other day, and they leaned over the table. I was with a couple, and we were having dinner, and the woman said, "Harder than you thought, huh?" So I spent Thanksgiving with my mama, 8 hours away from where I live, took the drive, started Thanksgiving morning, got over to where mama is in Tucson, hit the button that's called the ground floor, and got to the ground floor. And if you don't know anything about memory care, you don't recognize that what memory care is a place, if you have dementia or Alzheimer's, your brain is playing tricks on you, that you really have to be in a protected environment. You're not just free to walk around. You're really kind of locked into the area that you're in. Sometimes eating is difficult. As you progress, swallowing becomes difficult. Body functions become difficult. And the mind slips. And so when I hit the ground floor, it's really the basement. And so I get in the elevator, I go down. If you want to get back into the elevator after you're on the ground floor, you've got to have a code to get out. Otherwise, everybody would escape memory care. And I was in the elevator, and the doors open, and it's kind of dusk by the time I make that 8-hour drive. And there's a woman that's sitting in a wheelchair, kind of slumped over with a faraway look in her eye. And I think that my mom is in a really nice care facility, but I wouldn't want to be there. Would you? And I thought to myself, these poor people looking at her, I would never want to end up here. I would never want this for my life. Would you want that for your life? I would never want it for my life. And this is exactly the most depressing reason why I don't really want to be here on Thanksgiving, but I want to honor my mom. And I looked at the woman in the wheelchair, and all those thoughts slapped me in the face. And I thought, I better go look for mom. And then I said, wait a minute. And I took a second look, and the woman in the wheelchair with that faraway look was my mom. And all of a sudden, I had the strangest, oddest feeling. And I don't know what you do with those emotions without Jesus. So when the person leaned over the table and said, harder than you thought, huh? She unfolded the story of her relationship and her husband and her walking their mom through something that took place. I got to tell you, I never, ever imagined in a million years that my mama was going to spend her golden age years with the finality of her life being in a little studio room where her body was failing, but her mind failed first. The good news is, when I got up to the wheelchair, Mom looked up and she's like, Danny, is it really you? This is like Christmas morning. Are you really actually here? I said, yeah, Mom, I'm actually here. And then I gave her a hug because you don't get a lot of hugs when you're in memory care. I said, Ma, let's get out of here. And let's just go take a drive. So I don't know what you do without knowing that God says, to your old age and your gray head, I will carry you. I will carry you. What do you do without Isaiah 46:4? I made you. I will sustain you. What hope does anybody have in their entire life but the words of Jesus in John chapter 14? Don't let your hearts be troubled. You trust in God and you trust also in me, because in my Father's house there are many rooms, and if it were not so, I would not have told you, and I'm going to prepare a place for you. If I break down and you see tears on this guy's face in the middle of this podcast, then you at least know how meaningful this is to me, because I could not imagine the elevator doors opening up and me having to take a double take, not recognizing that that is my mom, without knowing that the place where she's going is the real home for us in heaven. And the fact that God, even when I'm not there, is there, and He's still going to perform His promise of carrying her to her old age and her gray hair. I'm learning in this process. Did you know that when you get dementia, you start to forget how to swallow? Did you know that? I didn't know that. Did you know that when you get dementia, everyday things of life might not be remembered, and yet things about your childhood might be remembered? There's so much to the brain we do not understand. The great news is Mom remembers my name and she smiles. And if you don't know anything about my history, I'm an only child. And I had a great dad and I had a great mom, and both of them loved each other the whole of my life, stayed married the whole of my life, and they taught me to love Jesus from the time I came popping out of Mom's tummy. And so I have known, loved, served, and been with a mom and dad who did something that most of us didn't have growing up. They taught me about Jesus, and they taught me to love Jesus. And Dad, 7 years ago, he went to see Jesus with metastasized cancer that went everywhere through his body. So Mom's been living on her own for 7 years. She started to get lost in the desert, and she would say, Danny, I don't know where I am right now, and I'm living in Los Angeles, California. I can't get to Tucson, Arizona. So eventually we started with independent living, then we went to assisted living, and then we went to memory care. And so when I go to take Mom, I always try to take her on field trips. And I go out with Mom, and we just do whatever we can do that are fun things to do. Well, she loves this one particular restaurant, Cracker Barrel. And then she's got a secondary restaurant that she loves, the Bread Bowl. And on this particular day, we were going to the Bread Bowl. And as far as I'm concerned, I'm still dealing with a very functional adult. I'm learning in the process too. I didn't think to check her pants and whether or not they fit and what it is that she had actually put on. So we got ready in the morning, picked her up, got to where I was going and parked. Well, the parking place had to go, like for all of us, across into the store itself, the bread bowl, the restaurant. And so we're in the middle of the street, and there's a guy that's waiting patiently for us to cross the street to get to the bread bowl. She's got her arm wrapped around mine, and she's excited to be out, and I'm excited to be with my mom. And all of a sudden, Mom starts to scream out, "My pants, my pants." And I look down, I'm like, "Ma, your pants, your pants." Turns out, Ma had been losing weight, and the pants that she had on didn't have what it needed to keep them on. Next thing I know, her pants are around her ankles. We're in the middle of the street. I think the guy that's in the car is yelling, "Pants, your pants." She's like, Danny, my pants are down around my ankles." And I'm thinking, when did this happen? So I pull up Mom's pants, and I'm absolutely horrified. The entire restaurant's looking at us. I'm like, okay, hey, we're gonna laugh about this. We're gonna take this light. We're gonna accept that this is what it is. We get in, and honestly, my anxiety level the entire meal was, please God, do not let my mom's pants fall down as we exit this sucker. Like, let her gain the 12 pounds she needs from the sandwich that we're having at the bread bowl meal that we're eating. And so we get done, and I don't know if I'm right or wrong. Don't send me emails about this, but look, at this point in Mom's life, you got to take the wins that you get. So I get Mom as many chocolate chip cookies as she wants. I get her as many oatmeal raisin cookies as she wants. We go to Costco, and you would be shocked at the level of chocolate we walk out with. And I mean, she's got stacks of it, but you might as well enjoy, right? I mean, who cares at this point? Enjoy your life. And so we're done. We're walking out, and I'm thinking, let's just make it to the car. Honest to goodness, right in the middle of the street again. "My pants, Danny, my pants." And I'm like, "Mama, your pants. We got to get them back up." We get them up, get her in the car, get her to where she's going, lay her down. That was about 3 months ago. And in the last 3 months, the progression of getting her out is now not an afternoon or some of the morning for 5 or 6 hours. It's now about 2 hours. You get her from the car, and then you get her back to the room, and Mom's exhausted. And Mom lays down on the bed, and I grab hold of her hand, and I open up the Bible, and I say, "Ma, let's talk about Jesus." It is the strangest feeling in the world to see the pictures of her young. She owned a motorcycle. She actually rode on a motorcycle. She owned one. The wedding pictures, she just had a baby pictures, all of the community of a large church, thousands of people, all of the progression of the years with Dad over the decades of marriage, the big events like graduations and weddings, grandkids, and they're all in a box. And after decorating Mom's room with all the pictures of the grandkids, pictures of my wife, pictures of things meaningful to Mom, because her mind's playing tricks on her, she packs them all up, she puts them in a corner, because somehow to her that's keeping them safe. And she carries everything she has now in a little walker, because it makes sense in her brain. everywhere she goes. Did you ever think that life could get packed up in a box? Now, I want to come back to this because this is really important, I think, for everybody listening and everybody watching. Because Christmas, for a lot of us, is not just sugar and spice and everything nice. It is not simply, gosh, when we get together with family, we feel less alone. Some of us feel more alone. This is not, hey, everything in my world is beautiful and marvelous and spectacular, and it's supercalifragilistic, makes me alidocious. For some of us, it's isolation, it's rejection. There are things to our life that every time we come together with family, they rise back up again, and the dynamics are unbelievable. Thanksgiving's really hard for a lot of us. Christmas is really tough for many of us. And some of us are going through things that are like, wait, what? I got to tell you, you guys, I never thought it was going to be this hard. This is one of the most difficult things I think I have ever been through, watching this progression of a woman that gave me life, that I used to run back home from school with because I had a Sunshine Award, to say, Ma, look at the award I got, who would go to my concerts and my sporting events, who wanted me to be the first Burgoyne to go to college, who gave what little bit she had for me to go to college, who trained me up in Jesus. And watching this progression that when I take her to the Dairy Queen, she can't get the soft serve down because the reflexes of swallowing are being forgotten. And yet, we have Jesus. What do you do without Jesus? Who do you pray to? Who do you cry out to? Who do you turn to? In the Bible, Jesus, He's the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all of creation. Everything that has ever been made has been made by Him and for Him. Colossians chapter 1 will go on to say all of the fullness of God dwells in Jesus. If you want to see a picture of the Father, you look at the Son, Jesus. He has all authority. He's on the throne. He's in full absolute control. I am not right this minute in Tucson with Mom. But you know who is? Jesus is. You know what His promise is? He's carrying her right now. You know what's going to happen on the day that she closes her eyes and breathes out her last? It's going to be Jesus. And Jesus is going to say to my mom, whose name is Meta, hi, Meta. Meta, this is the day that I've ordained for you to come see me, because that's what Psalm 139 says, before you were ever born. And Meta, you're never going to believe what it is that I've been preparing for you. And right behind Jesus is going to be my dad. And he's going to be like, Meta. And Meta's going to be like, Danny. And I'm not going to hear anymore about, Danny, your dad is not with me and your dad is with Jesus. And do you think if I had prayed harder that maybe dad would still be alive? And do you think that there might be another man that's going to marry me? No, Mom. Without your front tooth, I think we're lost on this one. I don't think at this age in memory care and, would you marry me if I do find a man? Do you think I could propose to a man? Mom, this is a weird conversation, but yeah, I will actually marry you if you can find a man. But I don't think we want to find a man down in memory care because these guys, I don't know, one of them's not even wearing his pants. I don't think that's the place that we want to find a man. You know what I'm saying, Ma? And we can't get on a dating app because that would be weird. There's a moment in time that all this is going to be over for her. And my dad's going to be behind Jesus in my mind. And Mom's going to see everybody that is her eternal family that she loves that's gone before her. And her body's not going to hurt. Her mind is going to be made perfect in Christ. And she's going to be at her reward. That is going to be such a great day. I have rarely in my life prayed that God would just take somebody home. I've done it at times with children that have had leukemias or cancers that have been so painful to them that watching them suffer, I've just said to Jesus, you've got to take this child home. You cannot. You're too good to allow this little boy or this little girl to suffer like this. I have sometimes held the hand of someone and I said, yeah, I'm going to participate with you and I'm going to hold your hand and stroke your hair until the moment you breathe out your last. So let's just go for what Jesus is going to do. But I got to tell you, on the day that God calls Mom home, that is going to be a great day of celebration. I just cannot imagine you feeling lonely, confused, broken, afraid, rejected, isolated, and not having Jesus to turn to. I went back to my hotel room and I just kind of melted. I've had to do that a few times now. I have clinical pastoral education training. I've worked for the Mayo Clinic. I have enough degrees to go around. This has caused the little boy in me to come on out. And I've melted watching this progression. And in that hotel room, I have one who is holding the entire world in the palm of his hand, whom none of this has ever caught surprise by him. He's not wandering around in heaven wondering what to do. Who is very literally, in this moment, preparing a place that Jesus promised to give, predicated upon the fact that out of his great love, he came to earth, became a man, lived the life I couldn't live, Mom couldn't live, so that God the Father could put on God the Son all of our sin, so that he could become the sacrifice, so that I, the guilty, could go free because Jesus, the righteous, would become sin for me. So that I could get what I never deserved. And I get to talk to him. We are all getting a taste of what we rightly deserve because bodies age and die, because that's the consequence of choosing independence from God. That's Genesis chapter 3. We sinned. All of us, in our first father and our first mother, and also because of what we've done. And then there's this great love like Niagara Falls that just keeps on coming. That God so loved me, my mom, you, that he gave Jesus. What do you do when you melt and cannot make sense of anything and your emotions are at a roar without Jesus? What do you do when that elevator door opens and you don't even recognize the person sitting in that wheelchair without Jesus? I will carry you to your old age and your gray head. I made you. I will sustain you. That's the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible is a God that may allow us to go through things we don't want to go through, we don't think is right, we don't think is fair, we don't want to experience it. This was never something in the plan. Are you kidding me? I would have never imagined ever in a million years that at my age on Thanksgiving, I'd be in a facility that was memory care. No way. But Jesus did. He knew it. And his promise is absolutely true. So here's the thing in this podcast. Some of you are listening to this and you're like, look, I know this story because I walked this one. Wow, I'm giving you a big hug. Because at the end of the dinner where the woman leaned over and said, this is like way harder than you thought, huh? She said, we understand, because this for us was like one of the hardest things we've ever gone through. I love and respect and admire and honor those of you who have loved your mother and father through this, because I think when you did that, you genuinely honored the Lord. I really do. It's one of those commandments. You honor your father and your mother, and that's a lifetime commandment. Doesn't mean obey. It just means you take care of. You want the best for. And a lot of you, this isn't your story. You got a whole nother thing going on. Guy reached out to me the other day. I was in the parking lot of a supermarket. And he yelled my name, Pastor Dan, and stopped and didn't put my groceries in the car. And he came over the median and he gave me a big hug. And his story is his wife left him and she's having an affair. And he's, Pastor Dan, I'm okay. I didn't think I'd be okay. I didn't think I was going to make it, but God is helping me. Another guy called me last night, and in his case, his wife actually left him for another man. And he said the same thing to me. He said, it's been an incredible journey, and I didn't want to go through it, but God has been with me. Some of you are having physical illness. Some of you just feel lonely when you get together with your family. Others of us have broken families. But you got Jesus. So when Mom was laying on the bed and her brain can only make sense of what she puts in her little walker, my hand goes on Mom's hand, that Bible gets opened, and I get to say, Ma, the Lord Jesus is your shepherd, and you shall not be in want. And He leads you. He gives you paths of righteousness. He leads you beside the quiet waters for His own name's sake. Mama, yea, though you walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you don't need to ever fear any evil because Jesus is with you. His rod and His staff, they comfort you. And Mom, she looks up. She's like, tell me more, Danny. Tell me more. Mama, Jesus says He's got a place for you. And Danny, I think I'm ready. Mama, I think you are too. So we can just say, okay, Jesus, whenever you're ready, we're ready. You got Jesus. So if you're watching this and you're going through something, don't give up. Don't quit. You may feel alone, but you got promises. You got a God in heaven who sees, who hears, and who knows. You got one who's absolutely in control and who has not lost you. And if the circumstances are mounting up and you feel like you're drowning, it's still okay because you got one who controls the sea. You've got one who is over and has the authority to command at any moment whatever it is that He wants. And if His answer is, you're going to walk through this, then the good news is His grace is sufficient to get you through. You have Jesus. You're going to be okay. And if you're watching this or you're listening to this, and my story is not your story and your story is not my story, and you don't have Jesus, man, you need to pull your car over right now. You need to stop cleaning the house right now. Stop whatever you're doing right now. Because I'll bet you I'm as strong as you are in anything that you go on in your life. I'm willing to put up my mental, emotional, spiritual, physical strength to you. Yeah, you're going to beat me in some ways, but I'm going to beat you in some ways. And I'm telling you, I cannot get through the things I'm facing without Jesus. And you are not meant to live your life without Jesus. Your whole life is about the one who gave you life. And you need to stop what you're doing and say, there's a God in heaven who whispers my name and loves me, who came to this world and laid down his life for me. And I'm going to entrust my life to him. And the way you do that is you say, God, what you say about me is right. I am a sinner, separated from you because you're holy and I'm not. You're so holy that sin had to be paid for. And Jesus, you're the only one who could pay for it. And so you went to the cross. I, by faith, am asking you to forgive me of my sin, to come into my life, and to become my Lord and Savior. That the Bible has declared the truth, that he who knew no sin became sin for me, that I might become the righteousness of Christ. I get to see my mom again, so I want her to go. And when you pray and you believe Jesus, you become part of a family whose eternal destination is not this crazy world where everything is broken and everything dies. It's heaven where everything is brand new and you live forever with Jesus. Stop what you're doing. Make Jesus your Savior and Lord. Confess it with your mouth. Believe it in your heart. And my friend, you will never, ever have to be alone again. And Jesus will carry you. I know this is true. Because right now, he's carrying me. That was my Thanksgiving. The God who can carry his kids and always fulfills his promises. I don't know what you do without Jesus. So, man, grab hold of him. Love you, everybody.